Good morning, everybody. Mike Juby with Mossy Jaw Custom Baits. Here today, I'm going to tie a little marabou jig, bass jig. These are jigs that I use for smallmouth. Tied some just a few years ago and kind of got into it a little late in the year. Had to go back and refresh my mind of when, hair jig or a marabou jig was the best time to use it. So, what I'm doing today, I've got a little freestyle jig head. It's powder coated in, it's kind of hard to tell with the camera so far away, Magic Crawl. I'm using 210 Ultra Thread. Try to get that to focus. There you go. 3/0 hook, and these are just the Crawdad Do It Molds hooks, just because I wanted to, that's what I had. Actually, I just want to get rid of them. So, tying this little marabou jig, they are about as simple to tie as you can get. Those of you guys that are interested in thinking about starting to tie your own jigs, get you some marabou and just get in there and start doing this. It's very simple. You want to think of having a triangle. You want some marabou on this side. That's the back side facing me. Some on this side, and I apologize, I'm using my middle finger. Let me do this, something else. You want to have a jig on some marabou on this side, the back side towards me, on the kind of the quartering down. On this front side that's facing you on this side, and then on the top, which is jig sits in the water like this, and then you want to have some your backbone color on this side, which is orange. I'm using olive marabou for my green pumpkin, if you will, because it's a crawdad color. I want it to be the marabou to be about as long as the hook is behind it. So my hook's about 2 inches long, so this marabou is going to stick out about 2 inches or so. But I'm going to just kind of eyeball measure that, cut off this stem of the feather, and then I've already got my thread base down. And then I'm just going to tie that kind of loose to where I can get it and adjust it where I need it to on the side. And there we go. Pretty simple. There's my first strand, if you will, if you want to call it that. My first layer. And I'm going to go around, tie this down. I want to get it pretty tight. You can see the head of that jig going up and down, moving pretty significantly. Don't be afraid to torque down on that. And me, I'm a little anal about the side that I'm looking at. I don't want to see any grain or any color through that. Okay, so now I've got that side done. Now I'm going to do this other side of the triangle. Get my plumes here, or my marabou. This chicken must have had mange. I'll hide that like that. Cut the stem. Get it on there loose. Now tighten it. I'm going to suck it down pretty good. And I'm going to match the distance of how far I run this string around, run my thread around to the first one that I did. Again, I don't want to see any color on the side of that I'm doing. So I try, sometimes that wax comes through. There we go. And then right here by the head, I like to taper that up just a little bit before I put this backbone on. And the backbone that I'm using, like I said, this is a little Crawdad color jig. Oh, goodness. Actually has a little curl. That'll be perfect. I like that. So you get your curl to flare up. That's just adds a little action to your bait. All right. Now I'm just winding this down, tightening it up. I like to put a UV thread or a UV lock over this, and I'm gonna have a little bit of orange showing on this neck of this. Unfortunately, just because of the thickness of the stem, and that's okay. I can get it close when I start half hitching it or whip finishing. Put my whip finisher on here, and I go around 10 times twice. Well, why don't you say 20? Well, I go around 10, and I'm lost count because I'm talking. But I go around 10 times twice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pull that, suck that down tight. And then I just have a paintbrush, and like I said, just a UV resin that I will put on this just to keep this tight. I like to do it just, I don't want my thread to break. I've never had one break anyway, but with the advent of this UV resin, I'm going to use it just to harden this up. I mean, you got it. Why not use it? It's available. And I like to make sure I go around several times because I don't want any bubbles on there whatsoever. I got a little dangly. Get that off here. Just like that. And then I'll hit it with my UV light for just a little bit. 10 or 15 turns. I apologize if that UV light is in your eyes and in the camera. But that's my Crawdad colored jig, hair jig. It is a 1/4 ounce freestyle jig that I make. It's actually a 1/4 ounce ball head. I take my flat sided pliers and squeeze the head down. Those of you that are out there wanting to pour your own jigs with Do It molds, guys, Do It molds they're amazing to have. The molds are $50-$60. I want to save some money. I can do a freestyle jig with this ball head jig mold. Let me get one here for you. This is just a ball head jig, 1/4 ounce jig. Obviously one, if you can see the flashing around it, I didn't have in the deal. But I can do a ball head jig with that, or I can take my flat nose pliers and do make it a freestyle jig. What's the difference? Again, a ball head jig, when you cast it out, when it sinks, it's going to spiral down. And I don't care if you've just got a little piece of plastic on it, like a Ned rig or whatever, or if you've tied it with bucktail or marabou or hackle, whatever, it's going to spiral. And I don't care if you've got a loop knot tied on it, or a Palomar, or a San Diego jam knot, or the, whatever knot. A freehead or a freestyle jig, one that's flat, like that, you can kind of see how it's flattened on the sides, shoved down. You tie whatever knot on it, and it's going to sink like this, because it doesn't have the water is going right up beside it, so it's not going. A ball head jig is going to spiral on you, going down. This freestyle is just going to fall just like that, just like a crappie jig would when you're crappie fishing. That's why a lot of the guys that are into it in crappie, they'll put an egg sinker above their weight. That helps with water displacement, and that makes your jig fall more vertical like that, and it doesn't spiral. That weight on that line helps out. When you're bass fishing, you don't have that weight on the line. Whoop. And there we go. That's Magic Crawl with olive and orange marabou. Guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you think. We'll catch you later.